They're not your standard pickup trucks. They're wildland fire engines, highly specialized apparatus with hoses, pumps, and reels. In the ICS classification system, there are 7 types of engines, with Type 7 being the smallest and Type 1 being the largest.
Of course, some engines have more capabilities than others.
These incredible pieces of equipment are put in some of the harshest conditions and navigate some of the roughest terrain there is.
They're amazing machines. They can go a lot of places.
So sit back and enjoy as we take a closer look at the inner workings of one of the most widely used firefighting tools, the mighty engine.
A few characteristics of a Type 7 engine: a slip-on tank unit with a capacity between 50 and 200 gallons, a minimum pump rating of 10 gallons per minute at 100 psi. The Type 7 is ideally suited for patrol duties or mop-up on small fires that are difficult to access with larger engines.
When a local district or forest needs a new or replacement engine, they submit specifications to either the National or Regional Equipment Committee. The requirements for new engines will vary as terrain types and uses for the engine are not the same. These specifications are carefully reviewed and then sent out to contractors for bid. Government officials review the bid packages and choose the vendor whose bid best matches the needs of firefighters and provides the best value. Once the bid has been awarded, the construction begins. The workers begin to cut the metal into pieces, working meticulously to match the specifications given in the drawing. The welders build the main body structure and put it on a roll-around cart. They grind down all of their welds to make the shell semi-smooth for the body shop. Electricians and body assembly workers attach doors, lights, and other components. At this point, they bring the chassis in and lower the body onto the chassis. The workers then go to work attaching everything that they've already installed onto the chassis. The pumps are then tested and a complete final inspection is done.
We have to meet NFPA standards, which is National Fire Protection Association. And then the government sets the pumping standard for us, which is 250 gallons per minute at 150 psi. Stage 2 of it is 200 gallons per minute at 300 psi. And the last stage is 150 gallons per minute at 400 psi. Each of those tests have to pass without overheating or leaks or anything like that.
A few examples of the Type 6 engine. With a capacity of 150 to 400 gallons, the Type 6 is an extremely effective initial attack resource in light fuels or in remote areas where access is limited. Minimum pump performance ratings are 30 gallons per minute at 100 psi. The Type 6 also carries more 1-inch and 1.5-inch hose than the Type 7.
Once an engine arrives at the home unit, it's time to train the crew. It's necessary for the crew to be able to operate the engine safely on highways, rural, urban, and mountain roads.
For most Type 6 engines, the regular state driver's license is all that's required. Some agencies and some local units have their own specific training, depending on if it's an emergency vehicle with lights and sirens or anything specific to that nature. The Type 4 engines and Type 3 engines with the heavier vehicles, larger, are commercial, so the state requires the Class B CDL, and you need some endorsements, so the air brake endorsement, possibly the tanker endorsement is required, and then also with your state medical certification.
Many agency employees attend engine academies or other engine operator training courses. These programs are designed to expose students to all aspects of wildland engine operations. The students learn driving techniques, have the opportunity to perform hands-on pump training, and troubleshoot engine maintenance problems. The students navigate various types of engines through obstacle courses, simulating driving conditions that may be encountered during fire response. The engines are tested to the maximum of their operating capabilities, negotiating difficult turns and climbing steep slopes. It is through these processes that agency drivers become proficient at operating their engines safely and effectively in the wildland fire environment.
The Type 5 engine has a tank size of 400 to 750 gallons. The minimum pump ratings are 50 gallons per minute at 100 psi. Even though they have the same hose and staffing requirements as the Type 6, they are much less common on the fire line.
When an engine is dispatched to a fire, it's important to understand the capabilities of each type so you understand the most appropriate one for your fire.
I'm Rebecca Sorensen. I'm a lead engine crew for the Boise District BLM. I'm an engine boss on a Type 4 with 2 crew members. So if you're thinking about what engine you want to use on a fire, thinking about ordering an engine, if you're considering a Type 6, they're highly mobile. They're not going to come with a lot of water, so you're going to have about 400 gallons max on there, but they can get anywhere, tight turning radius, that sort of thing. So if you want something that's going to go scout the fire, they're really good for that sort of position. And if you have a water source for them, a water tender or someplace they can draft, they can get that water a lot of places, and they have a great deal of hose.
The strengths of a Type 4 in a wildland environment would be it's one of the largest engines we have for water and capabilities. If you're remote and water is at a premium, Type 4 would be the better engine for that job. I would think some of the weaknesses with Type 4 would just be the size of the vehicle, driving a CDL. So keeping drivers behind the wheel is hard and difficult in some regions. The size of the vehicle is also tough when you're in the timber. A lot of low-hanging tree branches, a lot of low-hanging hazards make the taller vehicle tougher to drive. I think some of the limitations of a Type 4 or Type 6 and even some Type 3s is two-wheel drive and four-wheel drive. It's common that a lot of engines are still two-wheel drive, and if four-wheel drive is required, we should specify that while we're ordering them.
The Type 4 engine is ideally suited for a range of fuel types and missions. With pump ratings of 50 gallons per minute at 100 psi, the Type 4 can deliver a lot of water to the fire. These engines are frequently equipped with options such as four-wheel drive, foam, and extra personnel that can be utilized in a variety of fire operations.
Once you determine which type of engine is going to be appropriate for your needs on the fire, you should know what type of crew to expect and the qualifications they may be coming with.
You could expect a lot of quals depending on the engine coming to your fire, depending on the geographical region where they're from. You could have anything from an engine boss and 2 firefighter Type 2s up to an IC3 and task force leaders and divisions with other engine bosses and other CDL drivers for the engine.
If all or part of the engine module isn't needed for an assignment, consider breaking the module down, utilizing individual crew members for other tasks on the fire.
And people in engines look forward to getting out, they want to hike, they're capable of hiking, so just ask them to do that. They don't have to be tied to the engine, they don't necessarily want to be tied to the engine. So when you come to a fire, if people aren't asking, if your overhead isn't asking what your quals are, they're kind of selling themselves short, because you may have an EMT, you may have a C Sawyer, you may have all kinds of things that they're looking for, and they see you as an engine module and don't consider that you have any other capabilities.
We can park the engines and put 2 or 3 engine modules together and form a small crew, put 10 people together and get a lot of work done on a fire, rather than ordering a different resource.
At 500 gallons, the Type 3 engine has a lower minimum tank capacity than the Type 4, but it has a higher performing pump and increased hose capacity. Another trait of the Type 3 is the minimum staffing requirement of 3 people. With the increased pump performance and staffing, this engine is well suited for structure protection and establishing hose lays.
Although each engine is designed for durability, they are often pushed to their mechanical limits, sometimes on a daily basis. With each use, there is potential for mechanical issues. While one cannot prevent these problems from happening, performing regular inspections and routine maintenance on engines can keep major mechanical issues to a minimum.
So speaking about the trucks, they're versatile, they're durable, they're incredible, they can go places that people wouldn't expect. And we talk about, you just have to treat them right, you know what I mean? That's how you're able to go out and do the job that you want to do. So if you abuse it, don't maintain it, don't catch things early before they become bigger problems, then you're shut down and out of the game.
With new technology in engines and the engineering of safety into a lot of the components, We've now had our capabilities increased by being able to use engines in different terrain. In the past where we were unsure. We tilt test the engines now. In the past that wasn't always done. Using large fire apparatus manufacturers who build emergency vehicles, I think that we've become safer and use a better product than we did in past years.
Type 1 and Type 2 engines are not classified as wildland engines. They are considered structure engines. Because of this designation, they are best suited to be used in areas with paved roads and easy access. Tank capacity is generally lower than Type 3 and Type 4 engines, but what these structure engines lack in capacity, they make up for with extremely high capability pump performance. The Type 2 minimum is 250 gallons per minute, and for the Type 1, it is 1,000. These structure engines are not typically agency owned, and they're usually operated by municipal departments.
Innovative ideas come from the field. If you have ideas you'd like to share, the BLM has a website established where firefighters can provide input. In this module, we've shown you the design and construction process, as well as some capabilities and types of engines you may encounter out on the fire line. Now you should be familiar with some of the key features of various types of engines, so the next time you work with one, you'll be confident in the power of the mighty engine.